Hello students, welcome to the chapter of semiconductor devices and digital circuits. Students, have you ever wondered what electronic devices are? Electronic devices are the devices which have electronic circuits as the building blocks and they use the controlled flow of electrons through them. The discovery of electron was a landmark in the domain of physics. The present-day instant communication with the entire world is the result of this discovery. An electron is a light particle having negative charge. It can be easily controlled or manipulated with a small amount of energy. We can achieve high speeds and direction control using an electron with supplying minimum amount of energy in the terms of electric and magnetic field. The electronic devices are basically of two types, primarily vacuum tubes and solid-state electronic devices. The vacuum tubes were the classical method of producing electronic devices, which turned out to have limited life and low reliability, and they ended up being bulky and consuming high power. Later 1900s realized that some of the devices, such as solid-state electronic devices, consisting primarily of semiconductors, were a better substitute to it. Unlike vacuum devices, the charge carrier flow in solid itself. No vacuum has to be created. Unlike the vacuum tubes, the charge carriers which flow in the solid-state devices required no vacuum. They also found a solution to the problem of cathode heating. The solid-state electronic devices also didn't require cathode heating to produce charge carriers, and they resulted in having longer life and higher reliability at lower power consumption and small size. Solids are basically classified as metals, insulators, and semiconductors. This classification is based on the relative values of their electrical conductivity, or you can say resistivity. Metals possess very low resistivity. Insulators have very high resistivity, whereas semiconductor possess resistivity or conductivity intermediate to that of metals and insulators. In this chapter, we are mainly concerned with semiconductors. Here are some of the distinguishing features which are as follows. Semiconductors have much higher resistivity than metals. Semiconductors have a temperature coefficient that is both negative and high. Semiconductors have a considerable lower number of density of charge carriers than the metals. Further, we can also classify semiconductors on the basis of the source and the nature of the charge carriers. The two primary types are intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor. The intrinsic semiconductors are also known as pure semiconductors, which have impurities less than 1 part of 10 raised to 10. The presence of the mobile charge carriers is an intrinsic property of a material, and these charges are obtained as a result of thermal excitation. Holes are essentially the electron vacancies with an effective positive charge. In an intrinsic semiconductor, the number density of the electrons is equal to the number density of the holes. Whereas extrinsic semiconductors are the conductors which are obtained by adding or doping the pure semiconductor with small amount of certain specific impurity. Atoms having valency different than that of the host atoms are called extrinsic semiconductors.